I'm in the town of Worthing, a seaside town on the south coast of England. This is Worthing and Broadwater Cemetery. As you enter the graveyard, on the left-hand side is this fenced-off area. It is accessible, and on the gate it announces it's the Jeffreys and Hudson Memorial Garden. And just to the right you can see a broken memorial stone to those two gentlemen. Nearby is a plaque to the William Henry Hudson and Richard Jeffreys, naturalists and writers. Once you're through the rather dour archway leading to the cemetery, it opens up a rather picturesque area. Here is a large mausoleum tomb, and the name at the top is A.A. Ralli, R-A-L-L-I. I visited West Norwood Cemetery recently, and in the Greek section is a massive memorial to the Ralli family, R-A-L-L-I, presumably a Greek family of some note. There's an interesting set of graves here. Two large stones at the front here with iron crosses on top, and behind we have 8 smaller graves with the same design of cross. I'm assuming it's one large family area. The inscriptions are very worn, but it seemed to be proud with an E on the end. So I'm assuming that these are possibly the two parents at the front and possibly 8 of their children behind, but that's a guess. Well, various signs around the graveyard have led me to this chap Jeffreys again. So we've got here John and Richard Jeffreys, 1887, aged 38 years. So Hudson and Jeffreys are obviously big names in this area. The graveyard's got a very nice parkland feel about it, with these grassy paths meandering through the memorials. The stone that the masons used in this area seems to be quite soft, and many of the inscriptions are very difficult to read. I picked this one because it is readable. This is William Berry, who died in 1886, aged 66 years, and we're pleased to read that his end was peace. A large area here, and the memorial at the end, not easy to read, but I notice it is George Cortis. Cortis is a name I noted on one of the roads near here. A good clear inscription for Susan Martin. She died in 1875, aged 68 years. There's a row of low-level memorials here, but on these the inscriptions are easy to read. The first one is George Ernest Owen Coleman, but it's 1983. It's fairly recent, and we're moving along to other more recent. One in 2012, Frank Hearsey, aged 73 in 1955, Rosa Hearsey, and at the end we've got Lloyd Hearsey. He died in 1918. Immediately behind them is the War Memorial. Driver C.W. Newman, Royal Field Artillery, 1915. No age given. There's a trio of graves here. 2 of them are war memorials and a different one in the middle. The first one is to F. Ford, Royal Field Artillery, in 1915. In the middle we have Simeon Tully, 15th King's Hussars. He died in Hampshire, 1915. And tucked away under the branch of this tree is another Ford. This is Private S. Ford, Royal West Kent Regiment, 1915, age 20. So we suspect the two Fords are related, and there is some connection with Simeon Tully in the centre. This one's to Private P.S. Ayling, Royal Sussex Regiment, and he died in 1915. Almost covered by this ivy and holly is the memorial to Moses Boodle, 1875, age 76. One of the few larger tombs in the cemetery. This is John Evans, 1891, aged 88, and his wife Mary Ann. A good clear inscription for Grace Mary, second daughter of Walter and Mary Greenfield. She died 1891, just 25 years old. A very unusual one here, where we've got this iron frame around the outside holding the stone memorial inside. The inscription appears to read Christopher Goa, G-O-A. Very unusual. This one was elaborately decorated, but the weather has got to it, the frost has got underneath the tiles, and we've lost a lot of the blue on it. Very elaborately decorated around the outside with the ivy leaves, and the memorial is to Charles James Kell, 1878, aged 59. Low down on the ground here, it's lost its cross on the top. This is Charles Dennis Potts, late lieutenant in the 93rd Highlanders. He died in 1866, aged 27 years. One for the aristocracy here. You can see the crest on the front of the memorial. The name is difficult to read, but the surname seems to be Cowper Rockfort. This one here is difficult to read the actual inscription, but somebody has posted some information about the chap. This is John Puckle. This cross is dedicated to my husband, Lieutenant Colonel John Puckle, Army Service Corps. Drowned in active service 1917 in Greece. He gallantly remained to the last at his post on the bridge after a German submarine attack on that vessel, and he was lost with the ship. He was son of Colonel Henry Glover Puckle and Cecilia Emily Puckle, and he was aged 47 years. Clearly this is only a paper label on here, so someone is still remembering him all these years later. A very large tomb here, surrounded by curbstones, and in each of the corners they've planted yew trees. Unfortunately, there's no obvious name on this large tomb. Very few angels or sorrowful young ladies in this graveyard. This one though She's standing beside the memorial to my dear husband, Frederick Henry Denny, who died in 1892. A very unusual memorial here. It's just sort of straight up, and at the very top we've got a very sort of modern depiction of someone on the cross, presumably Christ on the cross. And at the base it says it's a memorial to William Rupert Cochrane, priest for 33 years, rector, and he died in 1905. This is the War Memorial. The inscription reads, "To the honourable memory of those sailors and soldiers who gave their lives for their country in the Great War 1914-1918 and who lay buried in this cemetery." I don't see the names listed on this memorial. They often are. An elaborate memorial here on the corner, and the inscription reads, Giovanni Edelman, died 1917, of London and Littlehampton, born at Veglia 1843. Only good night, not goodbye, and erected by his widow. Alongside the long path here we have another war memorial, a war grave. T.R. Funnell, Yeoman of Signals, presumably that's Chief Yeoman of Signals, HMS Greenwich, 1921, age 37. And here we have the grave of W.H. Hudson, mentioned on the entrance to this cemetery. And here it says William Henry Hudson, born 1841 in Buenos Aires and died 1922 in London. And beneath that we have the details of his wife Emily. Always nice to see a grave beautifully kept. This is one to Ada Lillian Jones. She died, to move a little bit to see that, she died in 1957, aged 56 years. This one is completely in metal. A number of cast plates with the inscription held into an iron frame. I think the name, the beloved wife of Alfred Arthur Kimmins. It's quite unusual to see the metal gravestones. I'm going to leave this cemetery at this point. It's a very peaceful, park-like atmosphere with some nice paths, grassy paths just wandering amongst the memorials. Nothing hugely spectacular. A couple of famous gentlemen, or at least famous in Worthing area, but it's well worth a visit. Until the next time.